This morning an alien bombardier who flew missions over Germany. These men are rapidly passing on, and we don't want to forget them and their families. When the call came to protect our nation in the 1940s, these men and women stepped forward, and we were protected. Bless the decisions tonight. Give our council clear thinking that would be in accordance with your will for our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. It's always so informative hearing your prayers. I think I need you to start me out every single morning.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Item number 4 is adoption of the agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
on 5I, the Hillsdale Park access and parking easement, the staff suggests this item be vacated and brought back at a later date. There's some work that has to be done on it. And with that, I move we approve the amended agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 5 is our consent agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
as stated earlier, item 5I is taken off the agenda to be brought at a later date. With that, I move we approve the agenda, consent agenda, and for the mayor to sign and the clerk to attest.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as amended. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. There were no items moved from the consent agenda, so we'll move to item 7A, which is under our Meridian Arts Commission Annual Report. And I'll be turning this over to Hillary and Mary. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Mary Jensen, and I am the former chair of the Meridian Arts Commission, but we'll get to that in a minute. Hopefully you will see our new chair here soon. But I'm thrilled to be here to update you once again on all of the wonderful things that have happened with the Meridian Arts Commission this past year. We're grateful for Hillary, who has made this presentation possible for us today. And I think you've seen our summary of our year-end budget and activities, so we'll just go through this quickly. Okay. First of all, I wanted to recognize our Arts Commission currently as seated. Leslie Malden is the chair. Michelle Glaze is the vice chair. Stephanie Barnes, who is here with us tonight. Thank you, Stephanie. Bonnie Griffith, myself, Mary Jensen, Ellen DeAngelis, Gretchen Casarati, who is also here with us tonight. Thank you, Gretchen. Claudia Weatherman, and our youth liaison, Taylor Farmer. If you know of any men, we do accept them on the commission, but right now, it's girl power at the Meridian Arts Commission. An overview of our Initial Point Gallery. Again, a very successful year for the Initial Point Gallery. The majority of our volunteer hours do come from the gallery, as well as the commission members who help staff those gallery evenings. We do have a lot of volunteers that help us hang and take down each month for our new presentations, and they're wonderful ladies. We couldn't do it without them, and we're so glad for all of the volunteers that put in their time to volunteer here at the City and at Initial Point Gallery. Over 100 volunteer hours went into the gallery, and over 500 people have visited our gallery, at least signed in to tell us they have visited over in 2016. So we are looking forward to a really exciting 2017 in the gallery with more shows, more visitors, and hopefully more volunteers that help us out there. A highlight of the gallery is that for 2017, we will have all of the display cases up in the center of the gallery each month. We also added a brand new credenza that in itself is a beautiful piece of art, but it's also very functional for our volunteers to store their personal items while they're working in the gallery. And it was made by a local artisan right here in Meridian. He's just 2 blocks from us. We had an excellent experience working with him, and hopefully you've had the chance to see that beautiful piece that now occupies a space in our gallery. One of the highlights was our West Ada's framed competition. West Ada contacts the commission each year and asks for us to send judges to that art show, all student run, all student participated in. And so Ellen, Michelle, and Genesis were able to be the judges for that art show, and we were able to award some amazing young artists recognition as well as some prizes for their participation. We have again supported the Meridian Symphony Orchestra in their Rising Stars program. That is where they audition young musicians to play with the symphony in their final concert of the season. And we are thrilled to be able to sponsor that again this year. We did have 2 young performers, Anna Kathleen Black, a violinist, and Fernando Perez, who was a flautist. And they did a fantastic job, and we're thrilled to be able to work with the Meridian Symphony on a regular basis and help support them. Oh, yes, thank you. I was going to get to that when we got to Concerts on Broadway. But we do have a little reciprocal performance venue available for those young performers where they get to come out and perform as one of our opening acts for Concerts on Broadway. So we had Fernando here this summer, the flautist, to come in, and I do like saying that, to come in and be the opener for one of our concerts. We have also partnered again this year with our local theater company, Treasure Valley Youth Theater. We were able to sponsor 2 of their productions, Aladdin Jr. and How to Eat Like a Child and Other Ways to Avoid Becoming a Grown-Up. And we are super excited to continue to support them in their season in 2017 and offer these amazing opportunities for the young people here in Meridian. An exciting thing about our partnership with Treasure Valley Children's Theater is that we do get to watch their opportunities grow as we offer them support. They were awarded funds from a local organization called 100 People Who Care Ada County. And they also were able to establish their own public art plaza next to their building that we helped kick off for them. So we're excited to watch them grow. Brand new to the Arts Commission this year was the Dairy Days Art Show. We were approached by the Dairy Board and thought it was something that was within our wheelhouse. And we were kind of headed up by Ellen, who has been on the production side of art shows before, so as a commission member, she kind of headed the charge. We did have nearly 30 artists participate in our very first Dairy Days art show, and all of the expenses were reimbursed from the Dairy Board. The best and worst feedback we got was that there was not enough of it, so we have decided to take it on again for 2017, and we'll see if we can give people more of what they want. We're really excited about that. Our Concerts on Broadway series, again, was a huge success this summer. We were able to offer 4 concerts, but we added new bands this summer. If you got to see, Soul Patch was brand new to Concerts on Broadway, as well as Precious Bird, and both had excellent turnouts and followings and really added something new and fun to our Concerts on Broadway series. We also were able to have food trucks, which is something that the commission has always wanted and worked towards, and so we were really thrilled to be able to provide that. And the weather held, for the most part, on all 4 concerts, so we're going to hope for that for this coming season as well. A couple of things to note is that the park staff added recycling bins as some feedback that we had gotten from the public that they would like to be able to recycle. And also that we were able to use a production company for the first time called Wineglass Arts Development, and they really took on the entire concert series, allowing the commission to make the decisions but not put in all the elbow grease with it. So it was really a good, solid partnership, and we were pleased with what the results were. Another new bright spot in our year at the Arts Commission was the Meridian Art Week. And this idea came about because Shelley Houston, one of the employees here brought forth an idea of an art drop that had been done around the country, and the commission jumped on it. They said, yes, that sounds like a lot of fun, and I think we can do it. So we kind of combined an art drop where artists and non-artists alike could hide pieces around the city for people to find and enjoy and learn about art. And we combined that with a ribbon cutting for our newest art piece. Oh yeah, there's a hidden piece right there. And as well as for the Idaho Street Project. So there was a lot that went on in the evening. We also were able to host a chalk art festival from the local high schools. There were a lot of great successes, but a lot of things that we learned and we're really excited to put into play for the Art Week in 2017. Okay, thanks. There was no shortage of public art this year for us that we're really thrilled about. Obviously, we were able to commission Daniel Borup to put in bronze sculptures out on the town right here at City Hall, and have had a lot of great feedback. I haven't seen the frosty cone yet.
He
That's
looks
nice.
really
I
cold.
Yeah, but his ice cream won't melt, so that's good, right? Anyway, we're thrilled with that piece, as well as a CJ wrench piece that we were able to finally have installed called Native Grasses, and it is at the corner of Fairview and Main. And again, we have had a lot of really positive feedback. It's been really interesting to watch the art pieces through the seasons and how they change. I kind of mentioned the frosty cone, but especially the native grasses with the changing colors of the landscape around it come to life in a lot of different ways. So be sure and take note of that when you see or when you're driving by those. An exciting part of 2017 is that we've been able to work with the Parks Commission in establishing some public art in some of our parks. And the first project, you see kind of a concept of that, is ready to go for Heroes Park, and the artist is Ken McCall, so we're looking forward to getting that underway and getting an install date. I think everything that we do at the Arts Commission obviously really shows our commitment to the city and our passion about the arts and sharing it with others. And I think that's one of the most exciting things that the Arts Commission has to offer this year and every year. We're thrilled that every time we can make a connection with a local artist or a local person who just wants to be involved or learn more about the arts, then we try and do that. And one of our favorite stories at the Arts Commission is the story of Andrew Clifford, and I don't know if you'll remember him, but he had a piece of art that he wanted to submit for a traffic box, and there was some possible copyright infringement with Disney that we were really nervous about, and he made it all happen and went through all the correct channels and did it all legally correct, and then brought it back to us, and we were able to finally install his piece of art on a traffic box. So it was a really exciting thing. All right, I don't think, did Leslie join us? She did. I'm going to make her come up. Leslie, come on up here. So for the past 4 years, I've been thrilled to lead the Arts Commission as the chair, but I'm equally as thrilled to have a new set of eyes, a new, equally passionate person here. I'm not going away. I'm still here. You'll probably still see me as part of the Concerts on Broadway production team, but I am thrilled to pass the baton to our dear Leslie Molden, and she's going to be the one you get to see from now on, the face of the Arts Commission.
I apologize beforehand. And I also want to thank Mary. She's been absolutely fantastic. I feel like I have some really big shoes to fill. And this is really artsy, but I'm going to give her a hug right here.
Thank you. Thank you.
She's been wonderful, so thank you, Mary.
Thank you. And thank you to Madam Mayor and the City Council. Obviously, you are the reason that we are here and we get to do all these wonderful things and share this passion that we have with our city. So thank you. Are there
Thank you,
any
Mary.
questions?
And I would join my voice with Leslie's in thanking you for your leadership. You probably served as the chair much longer than you thought you would. I hope that you can look back over the accomplishments during your terms and see how much actually has happened, because there has been a lot of effort, a lot of results, and certainly our community is much richer because of it. So thank you for your leadership, your tenacity on a number of things, and we're thrilled that you will continue to serve, and we appreciate your passion and your energy.
Thank you.
And we welcome you as Chair, Leslie, and certainly got to see a little bit of your talent at the State of the City, kicking us off with the national anthem. Thank you for doing that, and congratulations on being elected as our chair.
Thank you.
Council, any questions for Mary or?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Genesis.
Leslie, did you get elected because you didn't show up to the meeting? I'm just kidding.
I was there and I still let it happen. So sorry, but that's just weird.
Very fabulous presentation, and even though I was there with you guys on a lot of that, that was exhausting just watching it. The amount of work that the whole team of you ladies put in is just amazing, and the art that that we see throughout the city and everything that you do, it really does make a tremendous difference in our community. So thank you all for your hard work.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
taking off the councilman hat and putting on the Dairy Show Board hat, I can't tell you the surprise we got from Hillary and Ellen and all you guys when we figured if 6 people showed up, we'd have a good art show, and you had 30. We give you 2 months to do it in, and I firmly believe that Dairy Days art show will grow to be
I agree.
a large show that will be one of the main draws for our Dairy Days. And I thank you very much from the board, the Dairy Show Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Byrd. Wait till this year. It's already rolling. We're excited.
That's cool. I know. Seeing what you were able to do in 2 months, and now you've had a whole
It was
year.
12, yeah.
Hold on to your seats, huh? Any other questions from council? Comments?
Madam Mayor, just a comment, if I may.
Mr. Kavner?
This commission update is kind of followed suit with the other commission updates that we've had. It was just remarkable, the amount of work that these incredible volunteers put on. Thank you again. I know it's kind of repeating what everyone has said, but I love that the rest of the commission, or some of your commission members are here. The Arts Commission is been a commission that I've really enjoyed watching grow and really seeing it evolve over the past 9 years. We have some of the most amazing people in our community serving on that commission, and I am really looking forward to seeing all you guys accomplish this year. It's been really great to see.
Thank you.
You guys.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, and a special thanks to Hillary as well.
Yes.
You are awesome. They didn't note you as one of the changes last year.
That's right.
So, but we love your talent.
Feels like she's been with us forever now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, moving to item 8, under action items. Item 8A is a final plat for H 2017-0004. Caleb. Only when CJ will let
There you go.
you.
Now it's on. Madam Mayor, members of the council, the applicant for both A and B tonight, H 2017-004 and H 2017-005, has requested continuance March 7th. They are trying to address some of staff's comments, conditions in the staff report, and I'm hopeful that we can have it on the consent agenda. So if you're willing to continue that for a week, that would be appreciated.
Council, any questions for Caleb or issues? Mr. Byrd.
With your permission, I'll make a motion for both of them.
Okay.
I move that we continue H 2017-004 and also H 2017-0005 to March 7th, 2017.
I have a motion and a second to continue items 8A and B to March 7th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 8C is under the YMCA and their request for a building permit partial fee waiver. Hey, Steve?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'll kick this off. To start with, I'd like to address the obvious question is why was the agenda amended to put this on for tonight? I'd like to start with some history and how we got to where we are today. So the letter that's part of the packet, the formal request, was submitted back in December. Building permits have been in process with the building department since then, but it didn't make sense to bring forward the formal request until we had some final numbers. The YMCA finished opening bids, got their final numbers last week, submitted them on Friday. And then they're hopeful to get their building permits as soon as possible. Initially hopeful that it could be tonight, although we had talked and our original plan was to bring it forward next week, and they had acknowledged that with their construction timeline that either would work. Then we learned the mayor was going to be out of town next week, and that was kind of the trump card for us to want to come forward and give the opportunity to discuss it while everyone's here tonight. So we appreciate being able to come before you tonight while everyone is here. Last year, we entered into a partnership with the YMCA for what the facility known as the Hill down in South Meridian. The Hillsdale Elementary School is the first part of that, and the part that's been built. Part of our agreement or partnership MOU with them is that we're continually seeking ways to act in good faith and in a spirit of partnership to realize this project together. Examples on the Y side for us have been they're committed to building the parking lot for the park that we're about to build. They've taken on all the land donations initially until final lot lines could be created and then given to the various partners. And then, of course, last year they sold us the home court facility at a favorable price, and all those funds are going back into the project there. So their formal request for consideration tonight is that the council consider waiving certain soft costs or any portions of the building permit fees that are considered indirect fees or soft costs. You have a memo in your packet from Bruce Freckleton that delineates those with specific numbers. He's available to give as much or as little as you would like on that. And we also have David Duro and Scott Curtis here from the YMCA to answer any questions. And with that, I will stand for any questions myself.
Thank you, Steve. Council, any questions?
This time, Mayor.
So I think the question is, do you need to hear from Bruce, or do you have the information you need?
We're going to try on, huh? Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. We did receive the final, we did modify the numbers that we had in the memorandum that I had given a draft copy out earlier. Surprisingly, and for the good, the bids did come back lower than what we had originally received in the initial estimates from the contractor. So you do have the memo in front of you, I believe, and numbers as they stand now, based on the actual bid numbers, is $104,208.07. And so with that, I would stand for any specific questions you might have on the memo.
Thank you, Bruce. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Lowell Roberts.
I move that we accept the recommendation for waiving the soft costs, indirect fees, and not to exceed, about, we say, $105,000?
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second discussion.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Palmer.
Madam Mayor, I'm not sure yet whether I'm opposed to it or in favor of it, but the fact that it was amended on the agenda last night would make me a lot more comfortable if we gave it a week to be able to ponder more on, and in case anybody has anything from the public they want to bring forward, have time to just have a week under it before we make that decision. So with that, I would make an amended motion to continue the item for a week.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I'll second that, but then perhaps a question for legal.
Okay, Mr. Kavner.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Bill, it'd be my understanding that should council approve this tonight, it would come back next week on the consent. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Cavanagh, there wouldn't be anything to come back. So you would be agreeing to that today.
Madam Mayor, a comment if I may. I'm certainly supportive of the original motion of supporting this request. Likewise, I do question the precedent we set with such a significant dollar amount request and such a short amount of notice. I would be supportive of continuing this for a week, more just to ensure that our public has the opportunity to see the decision that is before this council, regardless of what everyone in this group decides, whether it's a motion they would want to support or oppose.
I think I said amended, I meant substitute.
That's all right, we knew what you were saying. Any other discussion on the amended motion, substitute motion? Okay, the motion in front of you right now is to continue this item to next week on March 7th. All those in favor, would you please say aye?
Aye?
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. We'll set this out for next week's agenda and under action items. Okay, thank you to Scott and David for being here. We appreciate you as well. Steve, do you have any further comment?
They were saying if council did have any questions for Mr. Duro, he's here tonight. He won't be able to be here next week. So if you had any questions, they'd be happy to take them. And then just so I know to prepare for next week, do you want another presentation or you just need it to come back up before you?
I think the desire is to have it on a printed agenda and give the public an opportunity, if there's any questions, to have that opportunity to ask.
Totally understand. So thank you for your time today.
Certainly, I would invite David, if you could join us and give us an update. Last year or last fall, we certainly started, or I guess it's been longer than that, turning dirt. But if you could maybe give us an update on the project itself.
Sure. Mayor, City Council members, it's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. Next week, I'm actually in Washington, D.C., and talking to some other legislators, so that's why I won't be able to be in attendance at the meeting next week. But the project is moving forward really well. We're so excited, and it's great to be able to thank you for your partnership in bringing this project to reality. We think it's going to be a real game changer for the community, and we're just so excited to have the school, St. Luke's, the city, and the Y all together to serve our kids and families. I mean, it is truly going to be something like we've never seen in this valley before. So we're very, very appreciative and anxious to partner for the long term with all of you here at the city. So updates on the project. The first one is fundraising, which we've been working on very, very hard, as you know. And so we have reached $17.1 million raised on our $18.5 million total cost project. So we've got a little bit of a gap still, but we're out talking to people, and we are confident we're going to close that gap. So that 17.1 million is a lot of generosity from a lot of people. So we feel really blessed and really supported by the community in that effort. And the thing that really speaks to people so that you can hear is it's the community and these entities coming together to deliver something that couldn't be delivered by one entity alone. I mean, there's so much synergy there and cost savings, both in the short-term construction costs and in the long-term. It really resonates with people, and they're willing to support it financially. So what we deliver is going to be special, but just that, the fact that people will support this because of the partnership is really rich. So then for the bids, we were nervous being out in this bid climate with all the construction that's happening all throughout the valley. And so we were nervous on how those bids would come back, and we had the 18.5 number. The bids will allow us to work within that budget. So we go to our board, the YMCA Board of Directors, tomorrow, and we ask for approval to take the next step forward and really commit to spending those funds on the next phase of the project. So that is looking really good. The design is super. I know we're excited to get the ground broken on the park and see that come together. And then the design of the facility, we think that complements everything else that's happening out there. And so we're very excited about the design and how we move forward there. So all in all, I think, Mayor, as you said in the opening, it's been a long road to bring this thing to fruition, but we're right there on the precipice of making it happen. And so your consideration next week, the building permit cost waiver will make a big difference to this project. And as you know, we're not going to rest until we have a pool there and a library there. And so this is just one step closer to making all that happen. And I'd be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, David. Any questions?
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Mylum?
So, based on your last statement, David, is the 18.5 number that's without a swimming pool? Is that correct?
That's correct.
It's sad. One of the best things that Y does is swimming lessons.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and as I said, we know how big of a need that is for the community and what a difference it'll make. And our board is committed to see that through somehow. As you know, we took a couple of different approaches to it, and those have been dead ends for right now, but there will be a way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think there's a lot of exciting programming in the dry side of things, and a lot of excitement in particular from the school for the indoor piece as well as the health piece. I know the larger vision certainly includes all partners to really show the synergies and how this best leverages all the partners' resources. But the dry side has a lot of exciting programming and benefits to our community in promoting a healthy Meridian, a healthy Ada County, and that's certainly an area of our community that is underserved and looking forward to having this facility. So we appreciate everything you, your board, Scott, the staff have done to make this a possibility and be a model I think a lot of others will be looking at to follow.
Thank you.
So anything further from council?
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Lil Roberts.
David, I would just like to say thank you to you and your team, and Scott for all your hard work in leading this effort. The business community certainly appreciates it, and we just look forward to continuing down this road with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us, and good luck next week.
Yeah, let's see what we can do.
Yeah, be safe. Okay, item 8D is a public hearing for H 2017-0006. I will open this public hearing with staff comments. Caleb.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This agenda item has to do with the vacation of a public utility and drainage easement. In 1980, a 20-foot wide, affectionately referred to as a PUDI easement, so again, public utility drainage easement, was created with the platting as part of the Meridian Business Park owner at 710 East King Street, which is Handy Wholesale Products. Recently received a certificate of zoning compliance approval to construct a 22,240 square foot truck service bay and warehouse addition to the existing 6,000 square foot building that is on the property highlighted on the screen. The proposed northern property line, and there's that 20-foot public utility drainage easement, so they need to vacate that. It does also encroach, as you can see, into the railroad right-of-way. We do have consent from the railroad company that they're okay with. You have also, all public utilities have given their consent to relinquish their easement rights that were created back in 1995 with the platting of this. With that, Madam Mayor, we would recommend approval of the subject application. I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Caleb. Council, any questions at this time?
I have none.
Okay, is the applicant here? Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. If you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Madam Mayor, council members, I'm Gary Lawson, Lawson Design, Nampa, Idaho. So we're on this project with Handy Wholesale for a while now, trying to get all their ducks in a row. And right now, they offload railroad cars on an outside shipping dock and then move the product on a small semi 80 feet away and put it into another warehouse. Their objective on this is to be able to offload railroad cars directly into the warehouse. You can imagine how much fun that was this winter, especially offloading railroad cars and putting it onto a small trailer and then offloading it again into their warehouse and then their people that they ship to. So that's the reason for their wanting to do this. It will greatly enhance their ability to handle into the elements and having any decomposition from that.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to offer testimony on this item? Okay, seeing none.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
seeing none, I move we close the public hearing on H 2017-0006.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on item 8D. All those in,
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
quick discussion. If I could sneak one question into staff before we do that?
you typically don't have a discussion on closing the public hearing, but count would,
We'll pull out.
okay.
What-
Yes, Mr. Borton.
Thank you. Real quick, I just haven't seen this before. Tell us real quick, what do we provide to the county when these kind of requests come? Is it a recommend to approve, or do we also sometimes include, a suggested condition or two that might be consistent with, since it's adjacent to city limits, or do we just merely say we recommend approval, period?
So, Madam Mayor, Councilman Borton, this property is actually zoned IL in the city of Meridian, so we are the lead agency in this case. The vacation of the easement, we do, I was going to say we do findings, but I'm not even quite sure if that's the right process for this. Bill Parsons actually wrote the staff report, but there aren't really any comments that we sent to the county. It is effectively amending the original plat by vacating that plat note, or the easement that was created with the subdivision.
Mr. Neri, does this generate a need for findings?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I believe we do an order is all we do, and then that's what gets sent to the county.
Okay,
All right, thanks. That's it.
thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
now I move that we close the public hearing on H 2017-0006.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on item 8D. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we approve H 2017-0006 and to include all staff and applicant comment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 8D, which is H 2017-0006. Mr. Byrd, Mr. Byrd. Mr. Clerk, you down there, will you please call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You can call me that. I like to be young like that.
Councilmember Cavanagh. Aye. Councilmember Milo.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 8E is a request for a reimbursement agreement for infrastructure enhancement for Fall Creek subdivision number 2. I will turn this over to Bruce Freckleton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What you have before you is the preliminary determination of eligibility for the request to enter into a reimbursement agreement for infrastructure enhancement by Coleman Homes for the Fall Creek subdivision number 2, as procedurally required under Meridian City Code 865. This is the second request under the reimbursement agreement for infrastructure enhancement code that was adopted back in July of 2011. The first request was also by Coleman Homes, but was for a sewer lift station that was installed in the Oaks South subdivision. The code had to be amended at that time since it was not originally designed for equipment such as a lift station. So this request is basically the first one to come forward to you for a mainline extension. Unfortunately, this request was made very late in the development process and essentially came in too late to consider for conditioning adjacent properties that would be the ones that would reimburse under the RAIE that may be approved. Can you go to that second slide, Caleb? Secondarily, and maybe even more importantly, is that a literal read of the code states in many locations that to be eligible for a reimbursement agreement, you would need to you would need to construct infrastructure that is above and beyond what is required by the Public Works Infrastructure Master Plans. In Coleman's case, they installed infrastructure per the master plan requirements. We assembled a team from the Public Works Department, Community Development Department, and Legal Department to consider this request, and there was a belief that the code as written does not represent what was intended when the new code was put together back in 2011. And for this reason, we are wanting to put together a stakeholders group, including developers and design consultants, to come up with a new language for the code. We do believe that a reimbursement program is appropriate for the city, but we need to strike a balance to make sure that what we come up with is fair and equitable for all without being overly burdensome to administer for city staff. So for tonight, we are simply asking for your consideration of the request and Dale Bolthouse's preliminary determination memo that you should have in front of you, and then render your decision. Becky McKay is here tonight as a representative for Thomas Coleman, if you have any questions of her. And with that, I will stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Bruce. Council, any questions?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Okay. See applicant here. Good evening. If you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Becky McKay, Engineering Solutions, business address 1029 North Rosario, Meridian.
Thank you, Becky.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. It's been a while. I've been on a little sabbatical. So, I'm back.
You need to say that with more enthusiasm.
No, I'm back.
And we're glad.
Well, you have to understand, I just got back from Hawaii, so I'm a little bit,
We feel
Well, it's kind of
when you
hard
come back
feeling
to the
sorry
snow.
for you.
Yeah, I know. As Bruce indicated, the reimbursement agreement ordinance was modified in 2011, and we find situations where we have extensions of oversize, over depth, in order to provide additional capacity to adjoining properties. It has historically been the policy of the city of Meridian that they would take into consideration any of that additional capacity that's created by a developer extending your services, and that there be some eligibility for reimbursement by future developers down the road. And then there was always an administrative cost that was deducted from that for the city of Meridian handling that. In the particular case of Fall Creek, the project runs from Stoddard Road all the way west to Linder, which is approximately 1/2 mile. There was an existing 12-inch water main in Stoddard Road. Part of our requirement was to build a 1/2 mile of 12-inch water main through Kodiak Drive all the way to Linder. And that was one of our conditions of approval. It is also necessary in order to service our development. The reimbursement that's before you this evening happened with a 12-inch water main that we were connecting an existing 12-inch water main in Linder, and the staff asked us to extend that 12-inch further south to our southern boundary for future extension, which would take place across the Reidenbach Canal, south up to Victory, and then that 12-inch main will eventually go eastward and loop your existing 12-inch that's in Victory Road over at Kentucky Ridge and one of the other subdivisions. So as far as the serviceability of that area from this 12-inch, this is Zone 4, it has the ability to serve some properties up to elevation 2714 south of Victory, and then it would also, that tie-in would serve the last phase of South Ridge. The reimbursement before you is not a lot of money. It's $24,848. When we received the letter from the Public Works Director basically stating that they were not in support of it, I noticed that the language he refers to is all addressing sewer, their wastewater division, their master sewer plan. And so I was a little bit confused. It stated, well, you know, this service benefit area has previously been entitled. There are few, if any, other users that would come online that could potentially reimburse Mr. Coleman for this infrastructure. Well, for sewer, that is the case. We weren't asking for any reimbursement on sewer, and that service area has been established years ago. He is absolutely correct. So I was a little bit puzzled, and I did bring this up with Bruce prior to the meeting. You know, staff has indicated that there needs to be some work done on your current ordinance as far as reimbursements are concerned. We'd like to volunteer to be on that committee to make sure that that if there are problems that in a situation like ours, this prohibits us from recouping our additional cost when there is additional capacity added to your system. We would like to make sure that that we help the city to work out the bugs out of this document. I guess we asked, you know, the council to consider our proposal, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Byrd.
Becky, got a question. You say that the, what you're asking for reimbursement was not part of the original approval, that this was asked by staff for you to add this on, to go south, down there, and then back? Is that right?
Councilman Byrd, Mayor DeWeerd, initially, we had thought that when we tied into Linder Road at the 12-inch, that would be satisfactory. And then Kyle did the water modeling and said, well, I would like to have another loop into your phase, so I'd like you to extend a 12-inch. And so our question to him was, do we need the 12-inch? And he said, no, really, you only need an 8. So we're not, so we did need an 8-inch to go further south and loop back into one of our phases in order to meet fire flow requirements. But we did not need a 12. Now, I believe staff's interpretation is, well, because Linder Road is an arterial roadway, you are obligated to take the 12-inch to your furthest boundary. So, you know, that's kind of, I guess, kind of how we kind of got crossways. This project just has a lot of 12-inch water in it where we had that Kodiak collector that runs that half mile. And so we thought we were good. The staff came back and asked for more. So that's why we came with the reimbursement request.
Follow up, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Byrd?
Becky, then what you're telling me is what you're asking to be reimbursed is the difference between 8 and 12 inch?
Yes, sir. Just in Linder.
Just that, because to be approved, 8 inch would have been fine, and now, but we said you had to go to 12?
We only needed an 8-inch, but the staff indicated 12-inch would be the minimum size that they would allow in Linder Road because of that future extension
That's
southward.
okay.
Yes, sir.
We know that our ordinance is kind of gray. But you have been around long enough to know how reimbursements go.
Yes, sir. The city has always been very fair.
They are a nightmare.
They're tough.
They are a nightmare,
They're
not
tough.
only for the city, they're a nightmare for the developers.
Yep.
Because they're hard to track,
Yes, sir.
very hard to track. And we just, as a city, we can't afford to have somebody sitting there full-time tracking all our reimbursements, and you as a developer can't afford to be tracking. So we need to work on it, and I think the idea that Bruce come up with is getting a committee together to look that thing over and get this straightened out once and for all would be very good. And I appreciate you wanting to be on it. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I guess, does staff have anything to add to this?
Push the button again. Okay, technology. I'm a little slow. Madam Mayor, the Water Master Plan for the City of Meridian does specify that there are 12-inch mains on a half-mile grid. So Linder Road, Overland Road, Stoddard, those are all the mile grid. It just so happens that Kodiak that she mentioned lines up with the half mile. So you got to have that half mile that bisects that section. So the city forever has had code that requires infrastructure to be installed to and through a development. Becky mentioned that they were connecting onto mains that others installed. Well, it's because they built to and through to bring those mains to them. That's the way that the codes read. And when Kyle required that main to be brought up Linder Road, he was requiring it based upon the master plan, but also because there was deficiencies in the fire flow. And getting that second loop from Linder Road into Fall Creek was necessary. So is there any other questions that you might have?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Kavner?
Bruce, on the page here of our presentation, the first bullet says the opportunity to have adjacent properties reimbursed was missed. Who missed it?
Coleman's request for the reimbursement agreement came in
August?
August.
August 11th of 16. The adjacent properties that would normally be the ones to reimburse were approved prior to that. So you can't go backwards on those properties and impose a requirement that they pay Coleman back. Therefore, the opportunity was missed.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Byrd?
Bruce, that brings up a question I've got then. That Coleman's was approved with an 8-inch main in there, right?
Coleman's was approved with a 12-inch main.
Okay.
In Linder Road.
That was, it was a 12-inch.
It was a 12-inch.
You answered.
Now, if Kyle had made a statement that all that was required to provide the loop and the fire flow was an 8-inch, then, I mean, that's, potentially you could do that. However, Linder Road is a section line road and a master plan for a 12-inch main.
Any other questions from council? Thank you for your information.
A lot to chew on.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd?
has everybody had all their questions answered?
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Mylum?
So if South Ridge has already been approved, so the opportunity is lost, where would the reimbursement come from?
There is no one else that would reimburse in this case.
Thank you.
And it's just because of the timing. Had Southridge not already had their approvals, potentially, if we could get around the other issue that I had mentioned with regarding to the language of the ordinance.
That would be such
Mr. Borton?
Why would that opportunity to be reimbursed from other parties be relevant if the 12-inch line was required for this project for fire flow in the existing plan anyway?
It's just another reason, I guess.
Whether or not someone else could or couldn't, there's nothing for a third party to reimburse, if what I'm understanding you're saying.
That's correct.
Okay.
So like I said, I think more importantly is the language of the ordinance precludes, because you're not building anything greater than the master plan calls for. So whether there were properties out there that would have been ones to pay this back, it's a little bit irrelevant, because I think the ordinance kind of trumps that.
Okay.
Any further questions for the applicant or staff? Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd?
this is one I believe that we had better stay to our ordinance, or we are setting a precedence. And I will say that I think the staff, legal, definitely realizes this, talking with Bill. We do need to probably get a new ordinance in place. But as it stands right now, on 2/28/17, I move that we deny the request for reimbursement for infrastructure enhancements at Fall Creek subdivision number 2.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second from Ms. Mylum. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Kavner?
a question maybe for legal or Bruce, if anyone feels the need to chime in. To Mr. Byrd's point about looking at our code related to this and putting together a working group, that seems like the right solution in light of this issue. My question is there a scenario in which, coming out of that group, that this group would have a recommendation that would change essentially maybe the decision of this council related to this particular application?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the only way you could do that would be to retro back in time that decision. the purpose, one thing that hasn't been discussed, when we wrote this ordinance in 2011, it was to get the city out of the business of doing these because of the costs and the administration of it. So this ordinance does not contemplate the city doing any reimbursing. It is only on additional property owners. Certainly, I can't foresee a likely outcome that's going to go backwards. That doesn't seem like that's where we would land, but I mean, I certainly am open to whatever the working group comes up with, and then obviously we would be presenting it back to all of you for your feedback as well as ultimately approval. So I couldn't tell you. I would say probably not, but never say never.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Bruce.
if I could weigh in on that too. If that were possible, bullet number 1 then would become more relevant. Sure. The fact that there's nobody to get the reimbursement from.
There was somebody. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Palmer?
Madam Mayor, I know that government sometimes creates working groups to pacify those involved in the opposite side of a decision that's often made in the moment. So I would just hope that if we do go that route, that we quickly figure out a solution to get it done and get the code changed and fixed so that we can figure these out going forward. That because I've been a part of one of those pacifying working groups before.
We appreciate the clarification at the end of that statement. I don't see what a working group at this point changes, and I think a longstanding desire of development paying its way, and because of the to and through, it has benefited the, it's kind of like you pointed out earlier, is they're able to develop because of the person before them developing to and through. So if there are key questions that have been raised because of this kind of policy, I think a working group can help vet that out. Otherwise, I would agree with Mr. Palmer, mark that down again, is that we would just be going through the exercise just because. And so we would really want to clearly define what are those key points that you would want someone to vet that would make sense in keeping with that policy that the city has long had, that development does pay. So we'll leave that up to you and whether a working group moving forward makes sense or not. Anything further from council? No? Mr. Clerk, will you please call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh. Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 9A, under department reports, is under community development. I'll turn this over to Caleb.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I don't typically bring these types of department reports to you, but I did want to follow up. We had some discussions last year about development applications in Ada County. We had a meeting in April of 2015 with the Board of County Commissioners over at their house and talked to them about just some of these things like enclaves, properties that are eligible for annexation but are developing in the county. Even had some draft changes to their code on some of those things. So I thought it was appropriate to just kind of bring that back up to the top of things again. It's not the highest of priorities, but I just wanted to let you know things are kind of just business as usual. Here's another application, and again, it's not like we're inundated with these types of requests, but here is another one. There's an application for a conditional use permit, a master site plan application for a contractor's yard. The applicant is also seeking a variance to the setback requirements for contractor's yards, which require a minimum of 100-foot setback and landscaping requirements. The applicant is proposing the hours of operation be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, and they are proposing a 10 gravel parking spaces on 5.1 acres for A to Z sprinkler and landscape. So the exhibit that you have in front of you is just a vicinity map with the subject property highlighted. Again, it is contiguous to city limits and therefore eligible for annexation. It is designated low-density residential on our future land use map. A contractor's yard is not allowed in any city zone. So if this were coming to the city in an R zone, it'd be outright prohibited. You couldn't even ask for it. We don't allow contractor's yards. I will point out that in the application submitted to the county, the applicant did get consent letters / support letters, however you want to state that, from 3 of the, I think there's 6 or 7 properties that abut them. The 3 property owners basically on the south, which would be the ones mainly affected. If you can see their site plan here. So this is really where they're operating their contractor's yard for the sprinkler and landscape company. And so again, most of the neighbors that are closest in vicinity to that operation have submitted that they don't really have a problem with the application. But I bring it up again just to say, should we make comment? Typically, Bruce and myself, and sometimes we involve the city engineer in our comments back to the county. Usually we just handle it with a condition or 2, or it's consistent or not. Here's one where it isn't, but it's marginal. Again, the wall gets taller of extending, the potentially expansion of city limits. If everybody gets to do what they want to do in the county, how are city limits ever going to progress further to the south? We're going to be stuck here forever, and there are development pressures down here from these larger parcels that are interested in developing. Well, if you can operate a business and live out of your home here, why would you ever want to annex into the city of Meridian? So, again, I just bring it up to say, this is a problem. I'm not saying this is necessarily really even. Again, the neighbors, at least the few that are on the record through the county, don't seem to have a problem with it. But it is a commercial use in what we're looking at, a residential area in the future that wouldn't be consistent with our zoning. It's in our area of impact. I don't want to stir up the pot too much, but I'm tempted to make some comments like that. Should we encourage them to submit an application to the city of Meridian? And you could propose this very thing in the city of Meridian with an annexation zoning request. I will put a caveat in there, because usually what we talk about, okay, annexation is a 3-legged stool. Annexation comes with sewer and water. Sewer and water is a little bit difficult here. You do have sewer available in 10 Mile, but you're about 1/3 of a mile to run that sewer to actually get to them. Water isn't planned. The nearest water line is up here on Overland, and in Public Works CIP, the water is planned to go in 10 Mile in 2019. So again, there's no real pros and cons here either way, right? It kind of makes sense, it kind of doesn't. But again, I just bring it up to you to say, this is the urban interface, urban-rural interface or transition, and it's tough. So again, I'm just looking for some direction. We could certainly stay silent on it, just let the county's process kind of play out. But again, I wanted to at least daylight it with you all and say, hey, there's an application, this is what's being proposed, and see if what your direction is on any comments. So with that, Madam Mayor, I would stand for any questions or comments, direction.
Caleb, I guess I would just point out is when we were doing some of the discussions in this area of our community, there were some people in this particular subdivision that came and talked about future subdividing. And so at some point, we would imagine that there would be urbanization of these areas. I guess the overarching concern, and I can see why you bring this to council, is when we last met with Ada County Commission, they were concerned with the enclaves in our community. Yet we continue to have them tee them up and create future enclaves in these kind of scenarios. This has a lot of gray to it. as you have pointed out. So I'm not sure what the best solution is, other than maybe when it's and what the enforcement can be. You could always say you need to annex when you're surrounded on all sides or two sides, but who enforces that? And you really can't when you don't provide them services as far as utilities go. However, they are benefiting from the city services in other regards. It's kind of that long-standing conversation we've been having. Council, any comments?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd?
I would hope that the neighbors around there take care of a lot of this kickback.
You want
They are certainly an active bunch of people out there. I hate to tell people they can't do something to their own property. I got my doubts of whether that's a good place for a contractor's yard, but I don't know. I see pros and cons to both of it, but right now I think that I don't see it that being in the city, so I guess it's not going to hurt that much. So I guess if either just stay quiet or be my recommendation to just stay quiet. Let the neighbors, if they don't want it there, let them battle it.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Kavner?
Caleb, can you maybe articulate for me what a typical response from the city is on this type of stuff, these types of requests?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Cavanagh, it kind of varies on the request. Typically, what we see are 5-acre subdivisions are kind of more typical. And depending on where that's located, how far out in our area of impact it's located, sometimes they'll ask for a waiver of our dry line sewer requirements, and we'll write a request back to the county. That's our agreement with the counties. They basically say, we'll require your infrastructure when you tell us to, unless we hear otherwise. So again, usually I'm working pretty heavily with Public Works to say, hey, is this in the foreseeable future, or is this way out there and we really don't know what we'd even have put in the ground? And then again, generally, my comments are kind of at a higher level land use wise, going residential. Are you proposing residential use? No? Well, that's my comment back to you, is our comp plan says this should be residential. We don't have any residential zones that would allow the proposal. So I typically don't go as far as we recommend denial. I just state facts. Hey, this is designated this. We don't allow this. Again, just leave it at that.
Mr. Kavner?
I'm muted out now. I'm sorry, Dean. You need to stop? Now, okay, there we go. Good gravy.
How much did we pay?
Check, yeah, too much. I'll tell you that, too much. Madam Mayor, Caleb, I think maybe even to Councilman Byrd, to this council, I don't think we're telling someone what they can or can't do with their land. We're being asked to comment to the county. I think it's, in light of the discussion that we had a little over a year and a half ago with the county, I think it's absolutely prudent for us to send a response that includes our concerns about the type of use of this property in an area that doesn't typically fall within our land use designation. Caleb, I agree with you. I wouldn't support recommending a denial. That's not our call to make. I think that's the commissioner's call to make. But in light of the conversation that we've had with them, I think it's important for them to hear from us on this, specifically because that's something they've asked of us.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Palmer?
Madam Mayor, Caleb, where they don't plan on building a slaughterhouse and meat packing plant. And what they're looking to do is fairly undoable should they plan to build on it otherwise, if that's a word. I don't see it being an issue until they're ready to do something that we would have an issue with should it be in the city.
Would have an issue.
Realistic issue. I mean,
Would have an issue with it. Sorry.
well, you're right, But I mean, something of more permanent impact, I guess.
You know, Caleb, I guess, you know, to be consistent in following our own comprehensive plan that is approved by the county, that we're trying to be sensitive to their desire to remove enclaves, that to make comment about concerns of following our comprehensive plan that's been approved and the creation of a future enclave is at least worth pointing out and being consistent in our comments. I think that's a fair approach, and then, as was pointed out, it is ultimately their decision, but I do think that it's fair to weigh in looking at our comprehensive plan and the policy that they've asked us to look at. Any other comments from council?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Palmer?
I take back what I said and completely agree with the way you worded it.
Oh, my gosh. This is an awesome
Valentine's
day.
Day?
Red Banner Day.
You been feeding him a lot of chocolate or what?
Madam Mayor, now that it seems like there's maybe consensus of the council. Just to clarify, I'm going to just follow regular protocol, and it'll just come from me. I wasn't going to have your name on it. I just wanted to share and then get some direction. So I'm just going to comment like we typically do. And I wasn't going to write it to the level of writing the letter and asking you all to sign it. So I just want to make that clear. You won't hear anything else about this for hopefully ever.
I think it's fair that you weigh in on behalf of the city.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9B is also Caleb's under our 2017 transportation priorities.
So, Madam Mayor, members of the council, last week handed out the draft priorities for 2017 as recommended by the Meridian Transportation Commission. The only real conversation we had last week was Councilman Borton asked for, significant movers and shakers on those lists. I did go through and mark those, so if you haven't done that in the past week, again, there wasn't wholesale changes. There were, I think I counted 4 projects that went up or down more than 5 or more spots. I did just want to highlight that we had, and I can't remember if I did this last week, new to this year is priority number 31 on the roadways and intersections list. That's Victory Road, Meridian to Locust Grove, and I don't remember if I highlighted that for you last time, but that one is new. And then I know I didn't highlight for you, there were 5 that come off the list because they're either in construction right now or got done this last year. So that's good. 5 of our top projects, and they were last year's priority projects 1, 4, 7, 16, and 25. So in our top 25, they did 5 of our top 25 projects this last year. So that's pretty good. So all projects basically moved up on the list, just de facto because those projects came out. So, and then community programs projects, kind of really the same. Really the only, 2 changes. One was the 2nd Street. I think I mentioned that to you. West 2nd Street dropped 11 spots. That's by the food bank there. ACHD is not interested in that at this point in time. And then there's one new project that debuts at number 20, and that's East 2.5 Street, Carlton, and Fairview. And that's been a real topic of conversation through MDC and some of their various subcommittees. They're basically between Fairview and the school there on Carlton. So other than that, again, the list, hopefully you've had a week or so to really get into it, look at the recommendation, and There is also a cover letter. So if there's any changes there, we did highlight a couple projects, but thank them for their effort and their time and considering our requests largely is what that letter says. So unless there's any questions, comments, moves to the list, I'm prepared to. This one, I do have all of the signature line does include all of your names, so I would need to route that back. No, I'm sorry, that's the next letter that has all of your names. This one just has the mayor's name on it, but would ask for a motion when you're ready that approves the list of priorities and the mayor to sign.
Thank you, Caleb. I think it's noteworthy to thank our Transportation Commission for vetting this. Certainly appreciate all the work you put into it. The one thing I would ask to add to the letter is maybe more of an editorial remark of we accommodate the Treasure Valley's transportation impact. And, you know, sometimes when you look at these maps, you get a little overwhelmed with the number of black and red dots and squares and the enormity of the requests because of the transportation impact of our community. And just to note that, you know, we do entertain and accommodate the travel through transportation of all the communities that are growing in and around us. And I certainly know that Ada County Highway District understands the cumulative impact that we have from the growth all around us and our own, but that these are needs, not just because of our own growth. Council, any questions? Yes, Ms.
Madam Mayor, Caleb, I apologize I didn't get this to you sooner. It was kind of just a thought recently because I've been looking over dashboards and stuff. And I know that Fairview and Locust Grove is already high on the priority list, but maybe even could be a little higher. It's kind of consistently the one of the highest accident intersections in the city. I'll just shut up now.
Tune into KBOI, we'll be fine.
So, Madam Mayor, I'm fine with that as long as the rest of the count, just give me a number. Tell me where you want to move it. It's number 4 right now, so it's pretty high. If you want it to be number 1, I mean, just tell me where you want it. If you want to move it somewhere is really the request I would make, because don't leave it up to me to guess where you want it to be, so.
I would say 1 or 2. I mean, it made a huge difference, but.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Kavner.
just a comment. I have wrestled with kind of the power rankings of streets and intersections and moving things up and moving things down. And ultimately, I continually default back to the recommendations from the Transportation Commission. Personally, I think number 4 for that intersection is appropriate. It's already in our top 5. While it is a very highly used intersection, I also believe that it is one of many highly used intersections that are in our community. And there are intersections and roads that are just as heavily used that are lower. For what it's worth, I would support the recommendations as presented by the Transportation Commission.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
any more discussion? If not, I will make a motion that we take the recommendation brought forward by Caleb and the Transportation Department or Commission and send a letter to ACHD affirming that.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh. Councilmember Milam.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes. Thank you. Item 9C is under Community Development for a discussion on the 2026 corridor.
Members of the council, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to give you a heads up, and you've probably all seen some of the press releases and the words out there at this point, but I wanted to give an opportunity just to kind of daylight it with you a little bit more. ITD, Federal Highways, does have out on the street right now the draft environmental assessment for the US 2026 corridor, which goes from Caldwell to Eagle Road, I-84, and Caldwell to Eagle Road, State Highway 55. I didn't print out the whole EA. It's like, I didn't count the pages, but it's big, several volumes. And, the purpose of this really is to look at social, environmental impacts that a project of this magnitude may have. I'll be honest, again, with it being 700-800 pages, I have not read the whole thing, but I have read the summary. I've gone through it. I've read the titles of most of the sections at least. It is things like, critical areas, noise impacts, those types of things. So from my standpoint, and again, that's pretty not very in-depth analysis as far as environmental impacts go. I would support recommending supporting the environmental assessment so that this project can move forward and start to receive funding for construction. I have, similar to the last item, and this is the one, again, I got confused. I have drafted a letter that should be in your packet that basically supports ITD and the environmental assessment, the corridor study, mainly because we want to see some things happen on Chinden. Not because we necessarily love the EA, but just because that's a hoop we have to jump through to get the funds to build, widen the corridor. So I do have some of the, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, I did print out some of the cut sheets, though, that show some of the details. If you didn't know, there's a phasing plan. Initially, ITD plans to widen it to 4 lanes and then eventually to 6, and intersections are kind of sprinkled in there intermittently in that phasing plan. There still is a CFI. CFIs are still part of this plan. There have been some modifications to them, but they still are CFIs. I've at least seen one correspondence back from one of the adjacent businesses at Chinden and Linder that still isn't supportive of the CFI design. There definitely impacts both with right-of-way and access. Historically, and this goes back before some of you were on the council, but it has been a discussion of the council, and to this point, we've stayed silent really on the design, and again, really just supported environmental clearance, getting through the process, although we have been at the table and part of the design discussions. But we haven't come across as saying, we don't like this intersection, or we do like this intersection. We sort of stayed silent on that. So again, I just wanted to kind of let you know that there have been some changes in the past 9 months or so on this topic. There is a public hearing as well at the Ambrose School coming up. I lost my note of where that is. It's in my memo. Coming up here, I think it's next Wednesday, I believe, in the afternoon.
It's March 7th.
March 7th, so a week, yeah,
7th.
next Tuesday. So I do plan on attending that. I can either hand off a letter if you're so inclined to sign the letter or some version thereof that you have in the packet. If you wanted to show up, you're certainly welcome, as is the public. There's they have another public hearing / open house in Caldwell, but I didn't put that one in your packet. I figured you'd go to the Meridian one, but if you're interested, they actually do have 2 on kind of either end of the corridor. So with that, it's pretty high level. Again, I do have some of the purpose and kind of summary pages if you're interested in that, and some cut sheets if you're interested in that. I can pass them around. But with that, I would stand for any questions, and again, ask for if you don't want to send a letter, that's fine. Drafted one, though, thinking maybe you'd want to chime in on the EA. So with that, Madam Mayor, I would stand for any questions or comments.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Byrd.
Caleb, I think the letter sounds perfectly good to me. It's very clear in what we support and stuff, so I don't see any reason why we can't formally sign that and send it. And is there any chance that this could be moved up from 4 years? The studies and everything that has to be done, and the financing.
Well, the financing or the first improvement is scheduled for 2021, and that's the widening from Eagle to Locust Grove.
Yep, that's what.
That's it. I certainly, I think that the letter in generally supporting the corridor study, I do believe that we need to stress that that we would like to see improvements moved up, and that while we're generally supportive, there are some concerns with the continuous flow intersections, and who knows if they'll ever be built, but I guess to ask that those at the time be considered for what we all know that technology and improvements in moving traffic are happening annually, and we hope that there's a better solution than I guess we can't really say that, but that those, again, are considered in their design before moving into those phases of improvements. But certainly, we would love to see the widening from Eagle Road to McDermott in those first couple of phases moved up in the timeline.
Madam Mayor, I can add those comments. I think I've got something that I can certainly add about, the phasing or the triggering of those CFIs, that maybe there's an innovative design that somebody engineers in the near future that could maybe be implemented there. I did leave it kind of more heavy towards, again, this is more, the letter's drafted to Adam Rush and is really geared towards FHWA, not so much the ITD board, and that it's really, again, jumping through the environmental clearance hoop, so I didn't pound the drum so much about, but I can add those comments, and we did copy the board. I don't know if you caught that at the end of the letter. They are carbon copied. I do plan on sending it to the ITD board. But really the audience is more environmental impacts, not so much the finding additional funding or moving things up. But I can add a little bit more of that in there. I think that's appropriate too. So I just didn't go heavy with this letter this time because of they're asking for comments on the environmental assessment. So,
Madam Mayor?
I know it's a balance, but where we have an opportunity to at least weigh in, and you have done a nice job in talking about how critical it is, but the timeliness is equally critical. Mr. Byrd.
You say the open house is the 7th, and that's when you'd like to present the letter, which is next Tuesday?
Mr. Byrd, Madam Mayor, Councilman Byrd, I can do it. I don't know how well, if I make these changes, that's probably not real feasible to route it to everybody by then unless there's an electronic signature that maybe the clerk has, but it's not critical. We do have some time on that. I just need to get it to them while the public comment period is open, but it doesn't have to be next week, no.
If you feel comfortable with adding remarks, I think it'd be great, but I would have no problem sending this letter either. I think it covers a certain part that, we all wish that they could start right now and go all the way to Caldwell, but we know that's not going to happen.
You never know. Dream big. You might get some transportation infrastructure improvements and funding.
At least we got somebody in the White House that's looking at it.
Any other comments, questions? Is council interested in adding the the additions to the letter, or are you good as is?
Madam Mayor, I'm fine as is.
Fine as is.
Madam Mayor, I think we should take every opportunity we can, so maybe not strong arm them, but up it a little bit to let them know our thoughts on moving things up.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Palmer.
I just have a question about one sentence. On paragraph 3, improving the U.S. 2026 corridor will spur development of underutilized lands and provide public-private partnership opportunities. Is this speaking strictly of the public-private partnership of building a road, or hinting at
Yes.
creating opportunities for URDs as the 10-mile interchange did?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Palmer, no, not the latter. At least that wasn't the intent of that sentence. It really is to really spur more development on some of the parcels that have yet to urbanize, and other potential partnerships to make improvements maybe ahead of 2025 or 2030. As long as the environmental clearance gets done, again, someone else can come in and make some of those improvements potentially. Again, who knows what type of private-public partnerships may evolve from this, but the intent wasn't to plant a seed about establishing another, URA or really any funding mechanism wasn't really the point. Was more, hey, everybody would benefit from this project.
Madam Mayor?
Ms. Mylum.
I would say I'm okay with the way that it is, but if the timing doesn't matter, we have plenty of time, then I think adding the additions is helpful.
Let's seize the opportunity. If you can put it in there politically correct, nice. And if council would like to see it, we can bring it back on Tuesday for their signature. Everyone good with that?
I'm good.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you.
It's cool.
thank you.
Thanks, Caleb.
Caleb.
Okay, item 9D is under our Finance Department, and I'll turn this over to Keith Watts.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, council members. The reason I'm bringing this award before you rather than placing it on the consent agenda is that we only received one bid for this item. And in the past, I had been asked to make a presentation when we only received one bid, and I'll have a little discussion with that when I'm through. This is for a Parks Wide Area mower. We did advertise this bid in the newspaper, posted it on our website. And prior to going out to bid, we verified that there were 12 different dealerships that could supply this within the Northwest and California and Nevada as well. So it wasn't a sole source estimate. When we opened the bids, we met with the Parks Department and discussed the pricing. They believe it was a fair price. It was well within their budget and under their estimate when they put this proposal together to request a bid. With that, RMT Equipment was our sole bidder at $67,880. Like I said, well within the budget and under their estimate. And with that, stand for any questions.
Is it possible to add on a snow plow,
I think we have a couple of those.
snow blower? You know.
Right?
So we can use it every 30 years?
Any questions from council?
Madam Mayor?
Ms. Mylum.
So, Keith, we've bought these before, right?
We've bought different types of mower. This is a brand-new mower for 2017, actually.
Okay.
But
So we
yes.
don't really have a real good comparison.
Correct. We have similar mowers. This is a new model.
Though we have bought Jacobsons before.
Correct. Yes, we have.
They're the finest made,
Yep.
I think.
And it did fall within the estimate
they've-
or
Yep.
below.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Lowell Roberts.
I move that we approve the award of the bid for 1720-10736 and approve the purchase of the wide mower, not to exceed $67,800, excuse me, $80.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve item 9D. Any discussion from council? Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh. Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to ask, or just request, would you like me to continue to make these reports when we have a sole source, or are you fine with us just making the award? Either way, we usually run everything through legal before we come and talk to you as well.
Oh, we'd love to see you.
Madam
And it always helps, I think, to put context and to find out what all you do. And you don't bug us at all, maybe, kind of.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Neri.
I was just going to correct, sole sources have to come back to you. I think this is a policy.
I know this is not a
Yeah,
sole
he-
source.
Right, he said sole source, I just want to make sure
Oh,
from the record that he was talking about sole bidders. So.
And that's how I heard it.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I think it's very good that we bring something like this back when you only have one. In fact, some of these bids that we're getting on some of this other stuff, the amount of money, I don't think it would hurt to do like we used to do in the old days. That was a single item on the deal, and you listed who the bidders was and the bids and stuff, so the public knows that what kind of bidding and stuff's going out there. But no, Keith, I think it's great when we got something like this that you have to come out and talk about it publicly.
Great. We'll continue that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 9E, the Chief Newmeyer went home ill, and so passing the report off to Mr. Neri.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. What you have in front of you that's actually listed as item F is an addendum to the joint powers agreement that we have in Ada County under the EMS system. What this is when we went to this EMS joint powers agreement with the other agencies in Ada County, one of the things that evolved from that was having a single medical director, single license for all EMS services, so that way there's consistency across the board. That also then evolved into the EMS records that are maintained, and how would they be disseminated when there are public records requests. Because of HIPAA and other legal requirements, we have to, again, consistently apply that, and we don't want it applied 5 different ways in Ada County. So we have been, under the cooperation of all the agencies, been funneling the requests through the Ada County Paramedics EMS system for all of these requests. So they manage that record and that information and those public records requests. So what this does is clean that up in the agreement to add that as part of the agreement, rather than just an internal agreement between the agencies. Now it'll be part of the agreement itself. It has been working. I think I saw from Ms. Kane, who worked on it for our portion of the agreement. They've been doing this, I think, since November. They don't get a lot of these. Obviously, most of these are related. Obviously, the individuals are the ones that are asking for it in relation to medical needs. And again, these have very limited release capabilities because of HIPAA and other requirements. But she worked with the other agencies in getting the language that was satisfactory to all the parties, with all the other attorneys and all the other chiefs. So at this point, we're asking for your approval of this addendum so that, again, we can essentially memorialize the process in regards to the EMS record keeping and sharing of the information on the record side with the other agencies, so that again, they can be funneled through the Ada County EMS system for any kind of public records request. We always notify the requester because they normally come to us on our calls or our reports, and then we notify them. They're available through the Ada County EMS system. We provide it to them. Again, everybody has the same standards in releasing that. All their records retention policies have been aligned to be the same for all the agencies. So this, I think, is a good part of what the EMS agreement was supposed to do, and so we just ask for your approval. If you have any questions more than that, I don't know. That's the best I got.
We'll ask Chief Perry over there. Council, any questions?
I have none.
All right, Madam Mayor, there's no questions.
Mr. Kavner.
I move that we approve the amended joint powers agreement. Yeah.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 9F. Harry, you have any comments? I had to give you at least an opportunity. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. 9G is under our clerk's office.
Holy Toledo.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, what you have before you on the screen is the entirety of the clerk's office fee schedule. I just have it up there for reference so you can see our entire fee schedule. I'm not asking for approval or direction on all of these items. I just wanted to have that up there for your reference. The highlighted items in gray are what I'm here to speak with you about today. The first three are our pawnbroker license and precious metal dealer license. So currently, we have that fee set at $72.50, and that includes $41.50 of an Idaho State Police background check that's required for these licenses. What I'm looking to do, or what we're looking to do, is actually drop that fee by $1 because it actually costs us, staff, $30 and not $31 to perform our work. So we're looking to drop that to $71.50 instead of $72.50. It's not required that we hold a public hearing on dropping a fee, only when we increase fees by a certain amount or add new fees, but I am looking for your feedback to see if that would be appropriate to drop that fee down by $1. What we are required to hold a public hearing on are the attorney labor fees that you can see we're proposing to increase, the other labor, which is in the clerk's office, which we're looking to increase. The last item, the Dairy Days Art Show vendor fee, we currently don't have one of those, so we're looking to have a $20 art fee added to our fee schedule. So those three items we do need to hold a public hearing on. The other item we don't need to hold a public hearing on is the thumb drives, which we're actually looking to remove that fee altogether. Nobody has asked us to provide public records on thumb drives. We don't have thumb drives currently in our office to provide anyone. If they ask for us for a thumb drive, we don't have that currently. So we would have to stock up on that and then hold thumb drives that maybe the gigabyte amount goes obsolete next year, and then we can't even put the amount of public records on a thumb drive. So we're looking to remove that fee. If someone came and asked us for a thumb drive, we could probably scrounge one up around somewhere in the city. But mainly, we email public records requests. Now, if they're too large to email, if the files are too large, we use Dropbox currently. We're looking to move away from that, actually, and in conjunction with IT, we're developing a software, an application, software application for public records requests that we will actually put those requests on our website. The requester will create an account, and then they can access those requests similar to Dropbox, but it's all kept internally, in-house. Now, that's a quick explanation there. But again, going back to the attorney fees, clerk fees, and the Dairy Day Art Show fee. So Mr. Neri might be able to explain the statute a little bit better than I can, but the reason you see that increase there from $29.56 an hour in attorney fees, our proposal going up to $60 an hour, is 3-4 years ago, back in 2013, the last time our schedule was evaluated and approved, that fee was based on a part-time attorney doing the work. That part-time attorney is now a full-time attorney. So the statute requires that we use, when establishing fees for work, use the lowest cost employee that's qualified to do the work. As a part-time employee, that attorney didn't have full benefits, so we have to use the fully loaded cost of the employee. So the fully loaded cost here now as a full-time employee is representative at $60 an hour. The same is true, or similar is true for the clerk's office work at the 24 versus 30 over the course of the last 4 years. Our staff, just every year through performance evaluations, their hourly rate has increased. So you can see the $6 change there is just based on hourly wage increase over the course of 3 to 4 years. And then the Dairy Days Art Show fee, you had an wonderful presentation tonight from the Arts Commission. At last year's Dairy Days, the first year of the art show, they had vendors, art vendors, but there were no tents, there were no canopies to provide for the artists. So this fee, the $20 fee, is to help offset tents and canopies that the Arts Commission would like to rent for the artists to have their booths set up, essentially, and the Dairy Board cannot supplement that cost. Last year, they reimbursed or provided all costs, which was art supplies for kids that were doing artwork, but there were no tents. So the artists, some of them were a little upset that there weren't tents and booths for them to set up at. This year, the Arts Commission would like to provide that. This doesn't even cover half the cost of renting a single tent. I know next week, the commission is going to be meeting with the Arts Foundation to talk about, Meridian Arts Foundation, to talk about perhaps sponsoring the art show to offset the rest of that rental cost. But that's what this $20 fee represents, would be to help with a rental for canopies for the art show. So with that, I'll stand for any questions. I'm looking for approval to move forward to publish a public hearing notice, which we have to do for 2 straight weeks, and then to have and hold a public hearing for those 3 items, the fees for attorney labor, public records requests, non-attorney labor, public records requests, and to add a Dairy Days art show fee.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Neri.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, to provide additional context maybe to the public records request, in the time we've had this schedule in place, we've charged it once. So it doesn't come up very often. There are very strict limitations in the code as to when you can even charge it and then how much you can charge. For example, prior to this becoming enacted, if you've took, for example, 2 hours to review a public records request by an attorney, you could charge the entire 2 hours. A few years ago, the legislature changed it, and it had to exceed 2 hours, and then you could only charge what was in excess of 2 hours. So if it takes 2 hours and 1 minute, 5 years ago, you could charge 2 hours and 1 minute. Today, you could charge 1 minute. So it doesn't get charged very often because the amounts normally don't require that great deal of review, and thus most of the amounts are so minimal. Under our policy, we don't charge hardly anybody. But again, I think it was just one, and CJ was absolutely correct. The statute says you have to use the rate of the lowest paid person who is qualified to perform the job. We always take the rate plus the benefits, and so that's where those numbers come from. But again, I did want to provide you some context that this is not something we charge routinely. In fact, we've had it once.
And to further that point, over the last 2 years, we've only provided 5 estimates for work. 1 was paid, and we receive over 200 requests each year. And we've only done 5 combined for the last 2 years, providing estimates.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor.
Go ahead, Keith.
Mr. Byrd.
Well, we haven't had to charge or anything. I question your costs on your labor for your attorney and also for your hourly people. I realize, I guess it's by law that we have to use the lowest paid, but it isn't always the lowest paid that does the work.
Yes.
The
I
lowest
mean,
qualified
you're able to
paid.
do that, but,
Yes.
but in the clerk's office, sometimes they're not. I don't know, it's awful cheap labor for an attorney. Their salaries.
Sad state of affairs, Mr. Byrd, I agree.
Madam Mayor,
I wondered who I was sitting next to. Mr. Borton.
I'm not going to comment on that. I do think, CJ, you've laid this out with the right background and the right information to, at the very least, bring it forward for the public hearing.
Yeah.
We may or may not get comment on these issues that are raised, but I would support bringing forward this proposed updated fee schedule for the appropriate public hearing. I don't know if you need a motion to that effect, but if you do, I would so move.
I would second.
I don't think we do, but
You getting one?
I think it's great
That's
that
helpful to
we
me if
see
we have one,
this
but I don't know if I need one.
enthusiasm. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Great, thank you.
there you go. You had a bonus. Okay, council, any topics under future meeting? I do have a couple of upcoming events. Pipes and Drums Chili Cook-Off is Saturday.
Oh, it's okay. No, no. I want to hear the events. Chili cook-off's important.
Hello, I think I am chairing this meeting. Jeez. Okay. Saturday, from 11 to 3 in the Dairy Barns. Meridian Miles kickoff is on March 6th at 6 p.m. It's here at Meridian City Hall. It's the beginning of a weekly fun run, fun walk, and I know a couple of our council members actually are running. I've seen Facebook posts for Mr. Kavner and Mr. Borton, and I'm sure there are more of you that would love to get out and run around in our downtown as part of our Healthy Meridian initiative. Fleet Feet is coming and coordinating this activity and just bringing another event and activity to our downtown. They have a very successful group right now in Kleiner Park. They start off in the village, and I think at times they have up to 150 people participating. So would love to see you come out and kick that off. I think Miss Lil Roberts is going to be there for the inaugural event and kicking them off.
And walk, probably not run.
And walking, that's awesome. As Caleb mentioned, the ITD 2026 Corridor Study Open House is on March 7th at 4 p.m. at Ambrose School. And lastly, wanted to bring to your attention a couple of tours of Allenbaugh House for some of our newer council members or those that have not taken this tour. There are 2 different dates. On Thursday, March 2nd from 9:30 to 10:30, or that's a Thursday, or Tuesday, March 7th from 10 to 11. So I have printouts with the invitation for your information. Mr. Kavner.
Madam Mayor, thank you. And if I may, I just would like to reiterate how impressed I've been with these commission reports that we've seen over the past 2 weeks. You've got the right people in the right place, and it's been really enjoyable to see the progress that all those commissions are doing. And as I mentioned last week, I felt sometimes some of our commissions were a little stagnant and just existing, and it's really great to see all the things that they're out doing. Second, Madam Mayor, if I may, I know that we have been receiving meeting request times for, to meet with our different department liaison roles to talk budget. I was just hoping if, over the next month or two, if we could schedule some time as a council to see if there's an opportunity for us to discuss some budgetary items that maybe don't fall into a particular department. Give the council the opportunity to discuss them, the merits, so that they can be involved in the budgetary process as well.
Okay. I'm not sure I understand what the request is. Do you want an agenda item on a future city council meeting, or?
That would be ideal, Madam Mayor, perhaps as a workshop, on one of our workshop meetings.
Workshop would be, I think,
Okay, under upcoming budget items?
I think that's great.
Okay,
Be a non-department budget item discussion. And I think, Madam Mayor, occasionally we see in the budget different requests that maybe don't necessarily fall to a particular department, and this would be a good opportunity. If council members have some ideas, if there's some ideas that the mayor's office is planning to bring, a good opportunity for us to all discuss them together.
okay. I will let Mr. Lavoy know, and we can set that out. I believe that our March agenda for the workshop is very full, but we'll set it out for April.
I think that's great.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
if, for you councilmen that have not had a chance to go through Allenbaugh House, please go through and look at that, because it is so important to make sure that we continue to support It does such great things for our community. So if you get a chance, please go over there and go through it. I think you'll really have your eyes open.
Very much so. Mr. Palmer?
I'm sure it'll be brought up again when MIAC comes to do their presentation to us, but I just wanted to mention that a few of us were able to go to their Ignite Youth event last night, and I just can't say how impressed. I mean, they are the cream of the crop. You walk in there and they're all just playing around together, and they look like a normal large group of teenagers, but then they come together and started emceeing the event and doing their presentations, and I just was stunned, as I am every time I see anything that they do. Just incredibly impressed by the youth that we have here, and especially those participating in that organization. So thank you for continuing to support it.
Good
Thank you.
kids.
We'll certainly pass that along and would look forward to you noting that when they come to do their report. So, thank you.
Madam Mayor, over here.
Oh,
Did you want
Stacy.
to update the council on the timing of that summary report of the changes to the strategic plan?
Yes, we were working on the changes on the strategic plan and with the kind of read out with the delaying it 1 week because we wanted a full council. We are asking that we bring you the red-lined next Friday. It will give you a week and a half to look at it before we set it out on the agenda. Any issues with that? Community development has like 21 items and they're a little stressed that they have also full-time jobs. So, okay? Thank you. Okay, item 11 is executive session.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
move we go into executive session as per Idaho State Code 74206A.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn into executive session. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Aye. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes.